Welcome back to Missing. I am Tim here today with Lance. Lance, how are you today?
Doing fantastic today, Tim. It is January 4th. Thrilled to be here and introduce this pretty unique conversation that we have coming up to our audience. And how was your new year?
No resolutions, same old Tim. New year, though. I'm happy to be here in 2023 doing this show with you, Lance. And I'm very excited to introduce, what you called a very unique conversation, and it really is. We have two siblings of missing people on this very episode that are connected through marriage. And we didn't know this until recently, but we've covered both of these cases. And this is Cieha Taylor, missing from Plant City, Florida in February of 2020, and Calvin Johnny Hunt, missing from Cleveland, Tennessee in May of 2018.
Brian is Calvin Johnny Hunt's brother, and Katrina is Cieha Taylor's sister. And both of these families have experienced these independent missing person tragedies in their life, which is pretty incredible when you think about the odds of something like that. And in addition to those two missing individuals, they also have a cousin, Tania Leonard, who's been missing since 2002, October 19th, 2002, from Bartow, Florida. And she was 11 months old at the time of her disappearance. So just pile more tragedy on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lance, this conversation is sort of structured in such a way where Brian speaks first for about 15 minutes straight about Calvin's disappearance. And then Katrina speaks about Cieha's disappearance for probably about 15 minutes. And then we kind of get into a little bit of a dialogue and go back and forth. And Katrina and Brian kind of commiserate over what it's like and about their family connection as well, and about Tania as well.
And just a quick heads up, Brian does have a very thick accent, so if you are listening to this at, say, 1.5 or double speed, you might want to go back to normal speed due to the thickness of his accent.
And as we mentioned, Calvin Johnny Hunt went missing from Cleveland, Tennessee on May 29th, 2018, sort of suspicious circumstances. And he's about 6'6'1", 200 pounds, described as a big boy by his brother. He's got a lot of tattoos covering his arms, his hands even. And if you have any information, you can contact the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 931-526-5041.
And again, Cieha Taylor has been missing since February 6, 2020, from Plant City, Florida. She was 28 years old at the time, 5 foot 6 inches, about 170 pounds. And if anybody has any information on her disappearance, they are instructed to call 813-247-8200. And Tim, please fill our listeners in about the big news regarding the ads and our subscription service.
Well, the big news is that Missing Premium is now available on Apple Podcasts, and you can subscribe right there from the app, or you can do so at missing.supportingcast.fm. You'll get all of our episodes ad-free, and you'll also get our weekly bonus show on Missing Premium.
And where do people go to find us on social media?
Thanks for asking, Lance. They can find us at Missing CSM on social media. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it.
My name is Brian Hunt. My brother, Calvin Johnny Hunt III, went missing on May 29th, 2018. It's kind of a weird case. He went missing in Cleveland, Tennessee, on his way actually to Georgia to visit my mom and I. Supposedly, him and his girlfriend got in an argument on the way near Cleveland. He just went missing. Information was that after the argument, he reminded that he would rather walk than go any further in the car with her, pretty much. He told her to stop, let him out. Supposedly, that's what she did. She figured he was an adult, he wanted to walk, let him walk. This was about right before dusk, she said. And I think that evening I checked that dusk was landing about 7:46 that night. When this first started, I was actually at a Home Depot doing a price check for a customer of mine that I do work for. And I received a phone call because she was actually going to stop by our friend Michelle's house and have dinner. She was cooking dinner. And so I got a phone call from her in the middle of Home Depot. It was about 6:30, I think it was, somewhere in that area. she was in a panic mode and mad. She found something on his phone because he was asleep, that she said, in the truck, because she drove. So he took a nap. Well, I guess she had to leave her phone with her son. So my brother had given her cell phone. I don't know. I find that one unbelievable. I don't think he would do that. If he had another girl he was talking to, he wouldn't open up and give it to his girlfriend to ride around as he's asleep to look through the phone. I mean, I could be wrong. He might have been just, or she might have knew the password. I don't know. But anyway, I guess she found something in his phone about a letter or a note that they were talking back and forth and kind of like sexual advances toward each other. Anyway, she didn't know what to do. She said she was tired of it, so on and so on, And I said, look, I'll come get him. I said, don't open your mouth. Don't say a word. Don't wake him up. I said, I'll come get him tomorrow, and I'll bring him back to Georgia. I said, because if you do, it's going to be a fight. There's going to be an argument because you were looking through his phone and being snooped. So she agreed finally. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And I said, it needs to be over with anyway. So then he never showed up because Michelle called me at the Home Depot about 15 minutes later. Goes, have you heard from him? I said, no. And she goes, well, she had sent Shannon, her name was Shannon, had sent me a message saying, they're not coming. They're not coming. Don't worry about dinner. They'll talk to us later. And that was it. That was the last thing we heard until it was like 23 hours and 50 minutes from the time that we last heard from her that evening, and she answered the phone again. I was sending him texts, trying to figure out all that. She wouldn't answer the phone, nothing. And then finally, the next day, I was at work. I got up in the morning because we usually talk in the morning. He'll text me, hey, what are you doing? So on, so on. I said, well, So, we were always messing with each other and nothing. So I started texting. I'm like, hey, where are you at? Are you sleeping? What's going on? Wake up, call me. Nothing. Texting her, nothing. So it was almost 24 hours to the dot that she finally said, hey, we got in a fight. I told him about, I couldn't help. She said, I couldn't help myself. She was, I was tired of him hurting me and tired of him lying to me. And so I brought it up. She goes, and you were right. He was mad. We got in an argument and he let him out of the car. He said, let me out of the car. And I did. And I drove off and never looked back. And I said, well, we ain't heard from him. I said, does he have his phone with him? She goes, yeah, I think so. Because he usually carries two phones anyway. In case something happens, whatever the case may be, he's got a backup phone. No answer, no nothing. I said, well, he had called me. I said, and that's kind of strange. I said, if you dropped him off on the side of the road and he was coming to see us, our friend was cooking dinner for him, he would have called me first and said, hey, brother, I'm on the side of the road. I need a ride, whatever the case may be. I said, he hasn't called me. I said, I have nothing. And that's when I, really started going into a panic, because I was kind of worried, that evening, I'm like, well, maybe, maybe they're talking, maybe they're doing something, just not answering the phone, whatever the case may be, talking it out, So I really didn't panic, that much that night, but come the next morning when I didn't get no reply at all from the messages, and I went to work, and 8:30, 9:30 rolled around, 10 o'clock, and I still didn't get nothing. Then something was up. And then about 10:30 or so, that's when she finally texted me back, saying that, you were right, he got mad. And that's when I found, what happened. So there was started to, okay, mom, wife, okay, we got to go see, I called the police up there, so on and so on. I had to go, so we had to drive up there. I made flyers before I even left because I knew something was wrong. There's no way he would not call or text me or anything, So I knew then, and then I was like, okay, I had to get money up. I had, and so from there I went to Cleveland, police department, contacted them, told them the situation. And luckily, in between the talking and the messages, because I stayed after that, I stayed contact with, I was messaging her, hey, so and so. I was trying to get her to talk, get her to find out any information I could. Well, I ended up with a whole list of messages that just, and I thought dead to rights for sure. She was going to jail. I was I was like, I've got this. She did it because I mean, she changed stories. The stories were, it went from she dropped him off the side of the road to someone picked him up that evening at the house in a truck and he never came back. To the story that someone told her that he was in a hotel. He'd be back on Monday. If he wasn't back Monday, then get worried. I mean, 4 or 5 times, and it took a couple of days. He did be down there in the motel room, conversations to get because they didn't. I mean, I could file a missing persons report, but considering he's an adult, that's about it. They're going to file the thing, and that's it. They don't turn it into any agency or anything like that unless you can prove malicious intent. There's a reason he disappeared. Not that he just might have got tired, pissed off, found another woman, and walked off. All they do is put it in their report, and that's it. They might check the local police areas and hospitals, but that's it. After that, they don't look no more. You're done. You're pretty much just sitting to the side. For the things that I actually saved, thank God. They actually put her into the missing database. For the U.S. and name us. Me and Mom had to go turn in samples for DNA in case you turned up. I mean, and unless you can prove foul play involved, I mean, you're just sitting on a desk somewhere. So thank God that was able to be proved. I mean, because other than those messages, there was nothing. It's like the aliens kind of just zoop and took him off. And that's, of course, we all know that's impossible. But I spent a week and a half down there. I actually went to the stops, the road stops, the exits of Cleveland. I actually mapped out, the distance from each exit between where he got dropped off. So I went to the nearest exit. It was only 3/4 of a mile away. He could have walked that far. So I went straight to the first store off that exit. I went to the hotel, the Waffle House, and actually talked to the guy at the store that night that was there because he got transferred in from another store because someone didn't show up. And she said that he got out of the car with 2 boxes, which were supposedly had drones in them. That he was actually bringing parts to me because he got me into drones, so we used to fiddle faddle with the drone parts, and he'd bring me spare parts so I could put something together and play with. But that and a green grocery bag or one of them insulated bags, shopping bag, and 2 boxes. And he's a big boy. I mean, he's it looks like a grill, to be honest with you. I mean, big or stocky, and tattoos all over the place. I mean, it can't be missed. But I talked to the guy that was there, actually there that night. I finally, found him, and I showed him pictures, explained everything. He's like, no, there ain't no one coming to the store looking like that. I'm like, well, after walking 3/4 of a mile, my big brother would stop at the store. If he didn't have a phone, he'd have bought a phone, prepaid or something. Nothing. The Waffle House never seen him. Checked in for the hotels. The hotels didn't have anybody there by that name. So I mean, I kind of eliminated that one, situation. But the only real evidence, I mean, we have that he might have been somewhere in that area. The Cleveland police did actually have the phone company ping his phone, and they said that the phone company said the last signal they got from that phone was at 11:58 that night of the 29th, and it went dead. And the police told him to keep a monitor on it, but has not received any signal since. So they said it either the battery died, it got turned off. Either way, that was the last point they lost the signal. And they sent a GPS, and the police went out there to a road about 3 miles, 4 miles from where he was dropped off, in the back of a house on someone's property in the woods. That's where it pinged. That's where the GPS location sent it. But the police went out there, couldn't find nothing, no evidence, no nothing. So he was out there. His phone was in that area. Now that could have been possible because that area. Also, there's 3 or 4 ways to their house, so they could have drove by there, or something happened, whatever the case may be, and then the phone was thrown out. But when she called me that day, that evening, she was on his phone, of course. So she had his phone. So However, that phone signal got behind that house. She had his phone, supposedly. Now, I couldn't pinpoint the time exactly. I think they said it was at, if I'm not, it was almost 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that. When they got that signal, the ping in that location, which was, I can't prove it. If it was, that was close to the time of from driving from that area to back to their house. From the time they said he got out of the car about dusk, is what she said, which was almost 7:45, 8. That wasn't that far, 45 minutes. So I guess I could say heard from out of his phone, and since then it's been nothing. They, Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, I stay on them, but I've got a few people up there that listen out for me, and I mean, they did put a lie detector test on her. She passed, but it was just barely, you know what I mean? I guess however they do that, but she passed. They checked the car, they checked all that stuff for every day. I mean, and they found nothing. So, I mean, I don't know how I'm caught. Honestly, I don't know. I don't, now it's kind of the point of the doubt, I don't know if she did, I think if she didn't, she might know or has seen it and are too scared to talk. I don't know. But can't prove anything, she might not, she might be telling the truth. I mean, it's just, she couldn't have done it by herself. Let's put it that way. I mean, there's no way, I mean, she might have been able to shoot him, but I mean, she ain't going to move him. I mean, he's a big boy and he ain't going to go down without a fight anyway. So, I mean, it wasn't her alone, or she just wasn't there, or she might, I don't know. I just know it's miserable. I'm just day by day trying to get it out there, and then you get aggravated. No one wants to do anything about it. So you kind of after a while, it's kind of like, I don't know, give up. Not you give up, but don't give up. It's like, all right, you have to take a break, try to get yourself focused before you lose your mind, and everything else. And but that's as far as I know. I mean, and I still talk to her. I message her, and I try to keep in contact. And I told her, if you remember anything or anything comes up, let me know. Call TBI, whatever. I just don't know what to believe. All I really know anymore is that he's gone, and I mean, I'm in no delusion of myself. If he's found, it's not going to be alive, because he would never. I mean, he would just not call me or mom, or just up and vanish, and just go, hey, I'm running away with another girl. I know that ahead of time because he usually tells me. So I mean, it's crazy. It really is. I mean, we're just really trying to get things more out there so where somebody can help. We maybe get together and go to the news stations and get more media, how crazy this stuff is. And then on, both sides, I mean, what's the odds of, family members in the same family go missing? I mean, really? I mean, it's kind of like, we just want trying to get that out there. I mean, the people really pay attention. I mean, because it's not impossible for someone in your family to just up and vanish and you never know. I mean, and then I'm trying to get myself back on track myself to get out there and do this, because I've been down, had a lot of trouble, so it's off and on, but something's got to be done. So that's what we're trying to get together. And I appreciate the time. Appreciate how guys redoing the visiting the case again.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it in so many words that this is such a problem and no one really does anything about it. And this is a platform that you're more than welcome to come on and talk about this epidemic, this missing person epidemic. And
it's a pandemic. It's not even a epidemic anymore. It's a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's affected both of you directly on mm-hmm. numerous occasions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crazy.
Lightning don't strike twice. Well, I'll be damned.
Well, and it struck our family 3 times now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. It makes no sense.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program. Okay, and now here is Katrina speaking about her missing sister, Cieha Taylor.
This is the way that we are connected. So my dad Johnny and Brian's mom were married. So again, I consider Johnny, I consider Brian as my brothers because that's how we were. I mean, that's how we met. That's how we collided in this pandemic of missing persons. Johnny went missing in two. Let me back up. Tanaya Leonard, our cousin, went missing in 2000. I think it was three. When my dad met Brian and Johnny's mom, they married. Johnny went missing in 2018. Then my sister Cieha Taylor went missing in 2020. So even though we're not blood related, we are related in the fashion that we are all in the pandemic of the missing. So Johnny, I felt closer to Johnny than with Brian. Not saying that's a bad thing or anything like that, but Johnny always kept in contact with my dad, even with his mom, Shirley, actually, when they divorced. Johnny and my dad went fishing. They talked on the phone when my dad was when our dad was in the hospital. Johnny reached out to my dad. So my dad has now passed in 2020. And I even shared with Brian and also with Shirley. Shirley is Johnny and Brian's mom, who has recently passed as well. So she's passed not knowing where her son is or what happened to him. And I think that is very, I think everyone needs to know how hard that is for a mom to know. Dying, not even knowing where your son or what happened to him, what happened to him, period. It's very hard. So me and Brian connect on both of those. His mom was married to my dad. His brother's missing. My sister is missing. So we have formed this camaraderie of this pandemic that has happened to our family members. And I think it's very important that we all know that in Florida, Tennessee, the South, people need to understand that it can happen to you. And they don't understand it until it happens to them. And then that's when they want to join in and say, I need your help, or can you help me, or this has happened to me, what can I do? Somebody needs some kind of help in knowing what to do for the missing family members. So that's how me and Brian know each other and how we connect on all different levels.
Thank you, Katrina. And well said, too. I'm glad you guys have each other. I wonder, Katrina, if you could go through Kaya's story for us.
I want to first thank you guys because I did watch your podcast on Kaya, and what you did was absolutely amazing. You let everyone know what happened. So I want to let everyone know, first and foremost, that I am Kaya's sister on her dad's side of the family. Kaya's dad is Black, Kaya's mom is white, and she's biracial. Kaya went missing February 6th of 2020. Kaya's dad's part of the family, which I am included in, we didn't find out that Kaya was missing until February 6th, when her car was found on the side of the road by her boyfriend's mom. That is actually when Kaya's mom reached out to us and was like, hey, have you guys talked to Kaya, seen Kaya? What's going on with Kaya? Our sister, actually our older sister, I reached out to her and she said, well, Kaya was just at our house the weekend before she went missing. Kaya's car was found abandoned and running on a railroad track in Plant City, Florida on February 6, 2020. Her driver's side door was open with her cell phone on the ground. a passerby actually saw her car, and they called Plant City Police Department as well as Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. When Plant City Police Department showed up at the car, they found that it was on the railroad tracks, and they said, okay, this is a county problem, so we need to call Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office was contacted. They halfway made it there and said, hey, okay, you guys need to move the car on the side. You guys need to move the car off the railroad tracks, and we have to go deal with something else. So Plant City Police Department, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office actually got the car moved to the side of the road where it sat for 3 days. After those 3 days, her quote unquote boyfriend's mom saw the car on the side of the road, contacted our sister's boyfriend and said, hey, Kai's car is sitting on the side road. What's going on? Once they realized that it was actually her car, reached out to Kaya's mom. And then Kaya's mom, of course, mom and family members of Kaya went and got the car and actually took it to Kaya's mom's house. So let's back it up for a second. Kaya's car was found on the railroad tracks. They moved it to the side of the road. They got in the car, drove it to Kaya's mom's house. Again, where it's at. So anybody that watches CSI, any, crime channels know that whole crime scene was compromised. They did do an investigation of the car where it was found that only fingerprints of everyone that may have been in the car, meaning family, friends, or whatever, was found in the car. And honestly, that's where we sit right now. There has been no updates. There has been no new leads. There has been absolutely nothing with Kaya's case. My big thing is you move the car to the side of the road where it sits for 3 days, and then you allow someone to take it home. You have compromised everything. If the district attorney's office actually wants to take the case, nothing that they have found so far is going to be able to be admissive in evidence because it was compromised, period. So I truly believe that my sister's case is going to be, it's not going to be a good outcome. My goal for my sister, or me and her siblings' sister, is to make new legislation. We need to know that every car or vehicle that is sitting on the side of the road, you need to do an area search. You need to run the tags. You need to contact the next of kin on that car. I don't understand why that's hard. I don't understand why it would take anybody 5 minutes to I'm sorry, I'm trying not to be angry, and I'm trying not to, but there's no reason why anybody should not do that. It takes 5 minutes. I'm a nurse. I have sometimes 30 patients that I have to look at. If you're a police officer and you're driving on the street and you see an abandoned vehicle, first of all, it's an abandoned vehicle that was running. It was not cut off. It wasn't on the side of the road. It was running on top of a railroad track. There is no reason why you could not have did an area search, call the next of kin, run the tags. So in this area that Kaya is missing from, we already have another woman that's missing 6 miles away from where my sister's car was found. Her name is Veronica Reyes Diaz. 6 miles away from where my sister's car was found. So who knows? Veronica could have stole this car, drove it to Trapnell Road, got out of the car, ran, trying to escape her captors. But you call a tow truck to move the car on the side of the road. I have no understanding. We have to make legislative accountable for this. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, you just want to sue for this, that, and the other. No, I want to make laws for my sister so no one ever has to go through what I'm going through. And same with Johnny. She says, okay, I dropped him off on the side of the road. It makes no sense. Let me back up. Kaya's case was automatically sent to homicide detectives. Why? I'll tell you why. Because Hillsborough County, the second largest county in the nation for missing persons, has no missing persons division. I'm going to say that again so you all are aware of it. Hillsborough County, Florida, where my sister is missing, where Veronica Reyes Diaz is missing, where Kelly Vasquez is missing, has no missing persons division. They are all giving to a homicide detective. Again, I will tell you this. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is the second largest county in the nation. And I do my homework. Google it, call them, I don't care. I do my homework. Hillsborough County, Florida is the second largest county in the nation for missing persons. They do not have a missing persons division. Anyone that comes up missing will go to homicide detectives automatically. Yeah. So this is my fight. My fight is to get legislative changes for our missing persons. Again, Johnny, it's Tennessee. Why is not TBI investigating his case? Why is not the FBI investigating his case? I'll talk about Tanaya, my cousin. Why is not FBI in this case? That's Polk County, Florida. It's 30 minutes away from Hillsborough County. Why are they not investigating this missing? It's 3 people in my family that is missing. What? This is not an epidemic. It's a pandemic, and we have to let the public know what's going on. We have to educate them. We have to let them know you need to be aware of your surroundings, because the county sheriff, the FBI, the state bureau of investigation is not going to help you. So you better be aware of your surroundings. You better make sure that you have any self-defense mechanisms to help you. If you don't, there's nothing to help you. Nothing. We're going to be talking about you on a missing person podcast for the rest of your life until we find you. Period. We have to educate the public on what's going on.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program.
It's really unfortunate that you have to say something like you have to educate yourself on knowing your surroundings, protecting yourself, because the other end of it is so broken. Like, it makes no sense that there's not a missing person division in that county, and it goes to homicide. And what happens when it goes to homicide?
Nothing.
A completely dead end investigation, because there's no body. There's no evidence of any foul play.
I will tell you this. I spoke to the investigation for my sister's case because there was a girl that was that actually escaped her captor in Hillsborough County and notified the police, and I was the same last name that was associated with my sister's missing. I talked to the investigator, the detective on that, and let him know, hey, do you remember these are the same last names? These are the same surnames. And yes, I know. I just want you to know we're still working on your sister's case. And you're right. Why do I have to do this? Why does Brian have to do this? Why does Fidencio on Veronica's case have to do this? It makes no sense. Why are we doing this and we have no support from the state police, the city police, the county police, the federal government, the FBI? I'm going to tell you on Kaya's case, Texas EquiSearch offered to look for my sister in Plant City.
Same thing here. Same thing in Tennessee.
Hillsborough County Sheriff Office told them no.
Yeah, Tennessee did too.
Let's go a little further. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office told us that the FBI could not be called in on Kaya's case because everything that FBI has, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has. They don't need their help. But you have no missing persons division in the second largest county in the nation.
I said, and the cop that they're turning it into is not trained in that area. You know, he's a homicide. I'm not saying he's unqualified to do his job, and he might be able to, but it's still one. You know, it's still one person. He's got homicides to do it.
Exactly. How many homicides do you know of in Hillsborough County? A team. The same thing with Tennessee. And you have no answers. You have no detective that you can call and say, these are my family members. They are missing.
Tennessee told EquiSearch on my side on Johnny's case that they were told they couldn't come in because Tennessee did not have a location for the search.
Is that crazy or what?
Cleveland police told me that he felt to search the lakes up there because he thinks that he never even left 10 Mile up there. He never made it to Cleveland. I'm like, well, how come you're not listening to the detective that first took it? I said, there's plenty of places to search, but they were turned down.
And what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do as individuals that have no training in searching? Or, I mean, we can call somebody and threaten them all day long. I mean, but we have no training.
I can do it.
Exactly. We have no training on where to go, what to look for, not to touch, we have no idea. But you know what we have to do as a family? We have to teach ourselves. I'm a nurse. I don't know anything about, I can go out there, I can take pictures, I can call the detective. If the detective answers, what am I supposed to do? And that's the hardest part. Again, I talk about this Missversary that we're having in February. I've reached out to numerous local TV stations, radio stations, and haven't heard anything back because it's just a person missing. It's not urgent for them. If it's not something that someone wants to hear about, it doesn't mean anything to anyone else, but to our family, it does.
I want to take that back. The Cleveland Banner has been the only media that has actually ran Johnny's case disappearance for me for 3 years. He has put it in the paper, the Cleveland Banner. I take that back.
How many times would you say that you had to reach out for them to do that?
The first time there when I was there, I guess after about 2 weeks, Well, no, they did it. And then the following year, he did it. I didn't even have to ask. Actually, with my friend up there that was keeping an
Good.
eye out for me. So I called the guy and I thanked him, and but that's it. I mean, that's been it. Next to that, it's everybody forgot about everything.
Right. And that's the thing. All these snippets here and snippets there, it's 2 minutes here and 2 minutes there. If you YouTube missing and you look at the list, it's always 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes here. You never see an entire show about missing that is real. You may see, okay, let's say Alaska Daily. I love Alaska Daily, but it's not real. It's not based on people that are truly missing. People don't understand that for our families, this is real for us. It's more than just 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here. It's
24 hours a day.
It's 24 hours. I left Florida because of my sister. I no longer live in Florida, but I do whatever I can in Florida. I don't live there anymore, but I have to make sure that my cousin, who first went missing, that I was like, what are we doing? I have no idea what we're doing. And then Johnny. And then I didn't even know Johnny was missing until our dad died.
I didn't even know Dad was in the hospital.
Exactly.
Until I found out, he actually passed, and I'm like, what?
Right. Because Johnny was the one that always was like, hey, Katrina, I heard your dad's in the hospital. I got to get up there to see him. We got to go fishing. We got to do this. We got to do that. What brought me and Brian together was Johnny. I knew Brian. I knew that he was Shirley's son. But when Daddy started going down and I wasn't hearing from him, and then Johnny and Brian's mom reached out, for her to die without knowing anything about her son's disappearance, where he is, what she needs to do. She fought for him. I reached out to her. She reached out to me. That's how me and Brian got back together. We all came together to look for Johnny. She's dead and does not know where her son is. Same thing with with our dad. Our dad died. Kaya wasn't missing then. She's missing now, and our dad's dead. We have a whole new brother that was given up for adoption that I found after Daddy died that Kaya never even met. We have to find out what happened to Johnny for my dad's sake and for Shirley's sake. We have to find out what happened to Kaya for our dad's sake, for Kaya's sake. We have to have some kind of closure. Everyone knows where their loved one is. We have no idea what happened to ours. None. Johnny let out on a highway? No, Johnny's not going for that shit. Period.
He ain't gonna walk.
He would have called Brian. He would have called Shirley. You can save her if you want to, Brian. I'm not. I'm going to put it out there. She did something to him, and she knows what the hell happened to him. Period. But I love that you are continuing to talk to her and befriending her to let her know, because if she breaks down, she's going to break down to you. She's not going to break down to any of her family. And I'm going to put it out there that Johnny messaged me a couple of times about her and said that there was some, I'd say, domestic violence there that I'm not sure if he told you about, Brian, but that he did share with me. She hit him numerous times and that he didn't do anything. He, walked away from her. He wouldn't talk to her. At the same time, he always went back to her.
There ain't no doubt, because they came to visit one time. and she was here. After they left, and I told him, I said, be careful.